We created this tutorial to help students fix their own bibliographies before they come to us and ask for help. So we have some great resources available for students. At the very top of the annex, there is a link that says MLA Citation Help, and that links to a web page which has an infographic and slideshows and videos and exemplars by group. It's how to cite each and individual database that we carry. It's pretty comprehensive, so students should use that. During the third week of March, students submitted links to their works cited, sophomores did, and then that creates a spreadsheet. So then we went through the spreadsheet, clicking on the links, opening the works cited, and we were able to assign feedback using comments. We had generated a list of comments, kind of like those that one gets on the report card. So it's a form of coded feedback. So students can consult the list, which is linked to the top of that column, and read what their comments mean. So yes, we looked at all those comments and feedback, and we actually aggregated them and realized that there were some that were very frequently repeated. So we arranged those and we figured out what they were, and this tutorial is really going to walk you through that top 10 plus 3, so really 13 items that we just saw over and over and over again. So the way this is arranged is on the left, it will tell you where to find the solution to the problem. At the top, there is a citation that was student generated, and at the bottom, there is a citation that is teacher created that corrects whatever mistake we have. So the first problem was students are frequently abbreviating resources. So it's great that they're consulting the BBC and the NPR and MSNBC and CNN and A&E, but you need to write out what those things are. And rather than have you each individually Google those things to figure out what they mean, we created a little cheat sheet for you that's at the top of the annex on the left-hand side. Another thing that happens is, according to MLA 8, yes, you should include the URL to your resources, but you must exclude the http:// from those URLs. That on the left is part of the infographic we mentioned, where it breaks down all the parts of the works cited for you. Students are still citing too many encyclopedic resources. Yes, this is a bibliography and not a works cited, but there should be balance, and students should be mindful about the balance. And we come to class after class after class showing this wonder wheel smack here in the middle of the page, and we explain that your keywords need to change as you move through the wonder wheel. You also need to change your sources. So you might have a couple of reference resources at the beginning of the process, but by the time you get down to that synthesize, you should be using very in-depth resources. And we found that students were not doing that. And there are two possible answers for that. One is that you're not following directions. And two, and this concerns me a little bit more, is that students are not able to recognize what is or is not a reference resource. Students should not number, categorize, or bullet their resources. We have two works cited that are side by side on the right side of the page. We've blacked out the names of the countries so that students wouldn't feel embarrassed because many others do know which countries they're researching. But they can't come to us looking like this. If you look on the left-hand side of the page at the bottom, that is an exemplar, and that is what your works cited should look like. There are very clear instructions on how to do that in the web page that is linked to the top of the annex. The first letter of each word in the chapter, article, titles, and book titles should all be capitalized, but the rest of the words should be in lower cases. So at the top, the example has many words that are all caps. That has to get fixed. We're finding that the container confuses students. So even when we have students who are following the instructions pretty clearly, they just get confused when there's more than one container. So the post-it in the infographic on the left explains what to do with containers, but it still doesn't explain to students which container is larger than the next container. So the smaller container goes first, the larger container goes last. And the only way students are going to master that is through practice. It's a little bit tricky. There were many citations where we could not tell what the source was because there was so much missing information. So in this example along the top, we're missing the author, we're missing the publication that the article comes from, and we're missing a date of publication. This is not new, and it's been a problem ever since I've been a librarian, but the day comes before the month. The month is abbreviated into 3 letters, except for May, June, July, and September. We're finding that there are problems with punctuation. We're still sorting through this ourselves. MLA 8 is new, and so be very careful in following. We've identified what the punctuation should be in the infographic that we created at the end of each descriptor. For each element of MLA citation, we've put in the appropriate period. The only time we should include the date of access is if there is no publication date. And we have to be very careful about using resources where there is no publication date. The federal government is notorious for omitting the publication date, and obviously those are fine sources to use, but we need to be very careful about using resources without a pub date. This is tricky because when we were in MLA 7, date of access was a part of the citation. It was an expectation. This was not a requirement for the project, so we didn't take points off for not including academic journals, but it is advisable to include at least one in your works cited. This is part of getting a balanced collection of resources. Do consult those resources. You might not end up using them, but it's important for you to seek them, find them, and see what scholars are saying about your topic. Volume and issue number should be formatted exactly as they are in the title here. So you can see that we made a quick correction. I'm sure that the student thought that they got it right in the top, but it's very specific. It has to be lowercase v, and issue is not the word used any longer. It's now number. This happened a lot. Students used MLA 7 instead of MLA 8. We could tell right away because it says the word web or print. There's a date of access, and there are a couple of other things that are slightly different. So students were going to EasyBib, creating your citations there, and forgetting not only were they using the resource we asked them not to, but they were also checking the wrong box when creating their citations. So yes, we have a job. Your job today is to look at the feedback spreadsheet and use the time that you have left in class today to collaborate with others in the class and fix your bibliographies.